Hello again, Mr. Blight.
Good.
Goodbye, Mr. Blight.
We fought for England, but England won't fight for us.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doc.
Goodbye, Nurse. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Doc.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening.
Goodbye, Nurse. Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good.
Goodbye, nurse. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Are you really smuggling weapons?
And why not?
But you're not defending yourself.
You keep people...
I'd like...
Wise choice, Doc.
I'm quite...
Thank you for your time.
It's safer here than anywhere else in the East End.
He's on! I'll take it! Roll back to hell! Oh my God! Kill him! Bloody leech! God walks! Traitor! Redcliffe was right to speech, but not proper Ascalon material. This one's mine!
Stay back, please! Lord, give us strength! There's one of them! Crawl! Christ! This is dead! Back, demon!
Where have you gone, Elizabeth? I have a bad feeling about this.
Best turn around if I were you. safe here for a gentleman. Oh, you! Stop there!
Stupid thing!
Lad's got out!
Kill it all you deserve! Murdering bastard!
It's an each! Kill Take a breath for this! He's dead! Fuck, it's fine!
So Priwen never left Doris's theatre after they invaded. They must be holding Edgar here in their new headquarters.
Don't forget to check every door.
Doris Fletcher was about to become a disaster. I'm getting close to having all the evidence. It's locked, all right.
Sir, no secure!
It's locked. It's locked, all right. Blood of a pure heart, garlic, blood of a king. I don't understand. Perhaps this is what McCullum drank. I had better keep that in mind.
Edgar. Edgar, can you hear me?
Jonathan, is it really you?
Easy. Easy. Save your strength. I'm getting you out of here.
Don't try to spare me. As a physician, I know all too well when it's too late. Punctured lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. An accurate diagnosis, wouldn't you say?
Edgar, what happened?
They wanted me to confess. Beat me black and blue.
Jeffrey McCullum ambushed me at the Pembroke Hospital. He was convinced you and I were responsible for the Skal epidemic.
I never imagined that self-righteous fanatic would dare to attack us in the open. What became of him?
To prove him wrong, I let him go.
Really? Are you sure that was the wisest course of action?
Time will tell. The most intriguing part of his accusation was that you and I were the pawns of some ancient vampire.
William Marshall. Yes, they tortured me to make me confess the same nonsense.
I think you're hiding something, Edgar.
What do you mean?
William Marshall, for example. You speak of him as if you know him. How is that?
Jonathan, I cannot say I'm ready for another round of questions.
While investigating the epidemic, I read some of McCullum's findings. I think you have some explaining to do.
I have nothing to hide, Jonathan. Nothing at all.
Do you know Doris Fletcher's real name?
No, I'm afraid not.
Her real name was Doris Jones. She was the daughter of Harriet Jones.
What do you want me to say, Jonathan?
Do you remember when we suspected Sean Hampton of killing Harriet Jones?
Yes. The terrible episode that came as a shock to us all.
Harriet Jones faked her own death. When I found her in the sewers, she confessed she wanted everybody to pay for what happened to her.
That woman was extremely bitter, full of hatred and festering anger.
Doris Fletcher visited her mother at the Pembroke Hospital. That's how she first got infected.
I know nothing about that. Miss Fletcher once came to visit the sick. That is all I know.
No, Edgar, there is more. Doris Fletcher was Harriet Jones's daughter. They exhibited the same symptoms: blind hate and strong physical mutation.
What does this sad story have to do with us?
Do you know where we are? Doris Fletcher's theatre. This is where that hateful creature plotted to spread the epidemic across London.
I only briefly met Miss Fletcher once when she visited the Pembroke Hospital. You say it was to see her mother. She seemed like such a sweet and graceful woman.
My point exactly. The disease turned her into a bitter soul, driven by vengeance just like her mother, a symptom of all the infected patients.
Certain diseases are known to produce similar effects. Rabies, for example. And rabies is not the devil at work.
Come on, Edgar. Don't you see the pattern here? The epidemic, the link between Doris and Harriet, the suspicion of McCullum?
How could I? I never saw Harriet Jones again after she fled the hospital.
Doris and Harriet shared more than a hidden family bond. They were the embodiment of the epidemic and are linked to the Pembroke Hospital. Come on, Edgar, this is no coincidence.
I swear I'm at a complete loss. All I did was administer vampire blood to cure old Harriet. There was no evil plan, no diabolical plot.
You did what?
I tested the regenerating and healing properties of vampire blood on Harriet Jones. My only intention was to find the cure for influenza, I swear.
Whose blood did you use? William Marshall's? Mine?
Lady Ashbury's. While transfusing her with human blood, humanely appeasing her hunger, I also kept samples of her blood for my research.
You used her blood on Harriet Jones? My God, Edgar, that's unethical. You betrayed 2 of your patients at the same time.
How dare you judge me? Must I name the alarming list of your victims?
We are both deceivers. But at least I know I'm a monster.
You have worked beside me. You saw what I'm doing at Pembroke Hospital. Jonathan, you know I'm not an evil soul. Just another victim of this tragedy.
Yes, your death is imminent, Dr. Swansea. But I swear, it will be quick.
I already told you to call me Edgar. Am I no longer your friend?
I believe you never have been, sir. You have lied to me at every step and betrayed the trust of a woman I cherish.
You and the lady? Really? Well, I should have seen it coming, I suppose. May I add that I welcome this? The biting, I mean.
You have your wish.
wasn't going to hurt. I always wondered if it...
It's locked. So Harriet Jones became the original carrier when Edgar gave her vampire blood. I must tell Elizabeth.
Burning! I'll send you back in the fucking grave! Cross the leash, boys! Remember your vows, friends! We'll crush this beast! Die, leech!
What good fortune brings you back to me, Jonathan? What is it, my dear?
I'm afraid it's bad news, Elizabeth. The worst, actually.
Please, speak up.
Edgar is no longer in McCullum's grasp. I resolved that matter.
Where is our good friend now? Is he well?
He was mortally wounded. I put an end to his misery.
That is terrible, Jonathan. And yet you did what you must. The poor man.
Edgar Swansea was responsible for the Skull epidemic, Elizabeth. It was he who unleashed the deadly scourge upon London.
What? Are you certain? This is the most terrible accusation of all.
He confessed everything to me. He sought to cure the disease, to exploit vampire blood to stop the epidemic. But he unwittingly gave birth to a catastrophe.
All those poor victims. How could he do it? What happened?
Edgar's behavior was beyond lunacy. He had neither the discipline, knowledge, nor the proper facilities to conduct blood experiments.
I must say I'm shocked, Jonathan. Who would have thought it? And the poor patient. Let me guess. It was Harriet Jones, was it not?
Yes. That explains how Doris Fletcher was infected, and how she became an Ichor. She secretly visited her mother at Pembroke.
Then we have no choice. We must act quickly, Jonathan. We must return to the sewers and put an end to the threat poor Harriet embodies.
I have one more matter to discuss with you. Harriet Jones was the primary case, but do you know what a healthy carrier is?
There is a tone in your voice that frightens me, Jonathan. What are you trying to say?
It was your blood Edgar used for his experiment on Harriet Jones.
What? No. No. This can't be. Oh.
Elizabeth, are you all right?
No, I have to go.
What do you mean?
Leave me alone. Save the city, Jonathan. Save what can be saved.
Elizabeth, I need answers. Why did your blood
Stay
cause
away
this?
from me. Please. I swear I never was your
Wait!
enemy.
No! Elizabeth! It's locked, all right. Now would be a good time to blend the recipe Marshall used when he fought the disaster. I think I know where to find what I need.
No civilians allowed, sir. Don't come closer!
I cannot enter.
Over there! There's one in there! A leash! A leash! All of you bloody leeches need killing!
This is no place for a gentleman.
Burn it, boys!
women die too in this war!
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
What is your opinion of Aloysius?
I'm sure you did.
Tell me about your adoption.
What do you want to know?
How did you meet Lady Ashbury?
First, I was an orphan in the institution for girls she manages in the West End. When I was 10, she adopted me, and I have lived with her ever since.
Did you know she was a vampire when she picked you?
The correct word is Ekon, Doctor. And no, I had no idea why my mother only showed up at night. She told me everything when I turned 16, though I suspected the truth for a long time before that.
Who are your real parents?
Elizabeth Ashbury is my real mother. She raised me and has taken care of me all my life. I have no idea who my progenitors are or were.
Do you live with her?
I still spend a lot of time in my mother's mansion, but I have my own house now. I have a life to live, you see. And one day, I'll have my death to face.
Goodbye, Charlotte.
She's been quite busy.
Whose blood could be purer than that of William Marshall? Lord Redgrave will have to spare me a drop. Good evening, Miss Teasdale. How have you been since you returned home?
Dr. Reed. Oh, thank God you returned safely from these awful streets. I was so worried about my father that I left without thanking you properly.
Please, don't mention it, miss.
Good. I found him, you know. My dad. Or what was left of him. I think my abductor intended to do the same thing to me.
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Never heard of him.
Really? He's very well known in London. Throughout the country, even.
He a big shot or something. Never interested in politics myself. All words and no action.
Goodbye.
These leaflets were telling the truth all along. Nobody takes them seriously.
Sir, you are not welcome here.
Have you recent news of Aloysius Dawson?
He is dead, I've heard. I wish I was dead too.
What is the local news?
Shadow.
Tell me about yourself.
Oh, I'm hungry.
Don't you remember
I was strong, proud.
what happened?
The rats.
Miss Billow,
The voice.
do you feel compelled to obey that voice, Miss Billow? Even if you're loath to submit to it?
Yes. Please. Help.
Tell me about...
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me, or I'll abandon you. Help me.
What is the local news?
Shadow.
I must go now. I'm still persona non grata in the Ascalon Club. If I want to speak with Lord Redgrave, I'll have to improvise.
You're bleeding!
Good evening, Lord Redgrave.
What are you doing here, traitor? I shall smite you for this audacity.
I'm not here to bicker, Lord Redgrave. I can put an end to this epidemic, but I need your assistance to do so.
Good. We've held out thus far, but the time has come to put an end to this crisis. Tell me, what do you need?
The blood of William Marshall.
The blood of William Marshall? Of my maker? Are you mad? This blood is the purest of all. My maker proffered it to me on the battlefield. I cannot hand it to you.
This is more important than the club, you or me. This is London's last hope.
I see. Well, in that case, given the gravity of the situation, I suppose I can spare you a drop.
Thank you, my lord.
If you manage to save this city, you'll prove yourself a veritable servant of the crown. So Godspeed, Dr. Reed. Our fate lies wholly in your hands.
It's always been your idea, not mine.
Good evening, Avery.
Mr. Jonathan? I can't believe my own eyes. Oh, it's a miracle. We all thought you were... Sir, your poor sister. What a tragedy.
I know, Avery. I know about my sister's murder.
Miss Reed expected you to return to assist with the funeral, right up until the last minute. Where have you been, Mr. Jonathan? We needed you here.
How is my mother?
Not well, I'm afraid, sir. Miss Reed is very fragile since the police brought her back home.
The police? What happened?
Miss Reed was found walking in the streets. She kept saying she had spoken with her son and daughter. She's resting now.
Perhaps we could arrange a short trip. Somewhere sunny, like France. She has always been very fond of France. I think leaving London could do her good.
I'm afraid Miss Reed is too frail for the moment. Recently, she started going out at night without remembering it. I have to watch her carefully.
Has she received appropriate medical care?
I'm taking care of Miss Reed myself. Hospitals are so overwhelmed by the epidemic that they can only accept patients infected by influenza.
What is the
For a time...
Have you no
Your father...
I'm sorry I couldn't...
Your mother...
To be present.
I would not...
Tell me the truth, Avery. Do you feel forced to stay here? Would you leave this house without the arrangement made by my father?
No, sir. I have nowhere else to go. And I promised your father I'd take care of his family as long as I live.
This house is dead, Avery. There is a curse on this family. You really should consider leaving.
If only you could have been here sooner or more often. Maybe this house would not be that empty. But you're here now, sir. So my task is not over.
You have served this family extremely well, Avery. Your support during these terrible times is much appreciated.
Then I will stay. All I ask is that you take care of my own funeral if I die before the end of the epidemic. No mass grave, please, sir.
Do you really think I don't take enough care of my mother, Avery?
Yes, I do, Mr. Jonathan.
You clearly have something more to say. Speak your mind, Avery.
I know you work hard to help the sick, but what will you do once the epidemic is over?
My home is here, and I have nowhere else to go. But this house will need some improvements if I move here. Some radical changes.
That's good news. Whatever changes you have in mind, I'm sure we will find an arrangement that suits your mother also.
Goodbye, Avery. Please watch over my mother until I return.
Of course, Mr. Jonathan. But please return.
Why not?
Hello again, Mother.
Jonathan!
Do you think Avery is right? Do you think I should take better care of you?
I don't blame you, but you abandoned me, son. A mother should not survive her children. It's unbearable to know you're not here anymore.
I wish I could stay here and take care of you. But I'm involved in some terrible things. and I don't want to put you in any danger.
You don't have to apologize to me, Johnny. Do you think I did not notice how much you have changed?
Have I changed that much, Mother? Am I still your son?
You are still, and you'll always be. Despite your pale skin, your bloody eyes, and that echoing sadness in your voice.
Goodbye, Mother.
Goodbye, son.
Wanderer cordial can be the answer to all your problems. As long as you have the money.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Good evening, Christy.
Change your mind, Mr. Reed?
How are the conditions in Whitechapel these days?
When I think about all the people who died...
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
I always thought I was the master of my own fate. But now I know we don't always have control over our lives. I don't judge you.
You know, this money is not only for me. I have good reasons to need this money quickly, but it is not your concern, Doctor.
Goodbye, miss. It's locked, all right. Hello again, miss. Very well. Good evening, Mr. Nithercott.
And good evening to you too, my good sir. Can I be of any help?
Tell me, Mr. Nithercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my
my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
In what way?
The struggle.
If you say
such
vivid.
Oh yes, the...
Did you know the mute florist is a member of a secret society?
No, I didn't. But I thank you for this information, sir. For it only enriches the mystery surrounding the precious Camellia.
Are you not curious? Is there not more you wish to know?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her. Whatever she may be hiding, it's certain to be for the benefit of most, if not all.
I fear you are a hopeless romantic, Mr. Nethercott.
Guilty as charged, Dr. Reed.
How is this?
I imagine we're...
I'll leave you. Hello again, Miss. Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia. Very well.
Against malevolence and trickery.
Good evening.
It's far.
I have heard enough for tonight.
Best be moving on. Crush the leech! It's a leech! Die! You'll pay for that! It's on to us! It's a leech! Get it! We have to stop it!
If McCullum really drank the blood of King Arthur, then I may have found another vital ingredient for my recipe. This is despicable. Good evening, Vampire Hunter.
Are you here to end me, Leech? You'll find I will not be killed easily.
Not at all, McCullum. I am here because I need you.
Really? I'm intrigued. Speak up, then.
I need the blood of a king. The blood of Arthur. I'm certain you possess it, and I must have it.
The Guard's most sacred and precious relic. Why would you... You found Marshall's memoirs. I should have destroyed that book.
I need the antidote to save this city, McCullum.
It is within me to take your words as truth. I want to, but I must know more. What precisely are your plans?
I have found the carrier, McCullum. The infection's source. It may be science, or some supernatural power that's responsible for all this. But I will harness either or both to end the epidemic.
A vampire doctor. My God, you're a terrifying creature. Jonathan Emmett Reed.
Do you not understand? We wanted the same thing from the outset. A means to end this vampire epidemic.
Not enemies. Maybe that is so. Take it then. I see no other hope for this city. If this is some trick, you will be damned, Dr. Reed.
Thank you. Can we speak more?
Indeed. Why not?
What will the Guard of Priwen do now? Will you stop the Great Hunt?
Yes. But we shall continue to protect innocents from beasts like you and your red-headed friend.
How long have you known Lady Ashbury? Where is she? And what will you do to her?
We saw you meeting her, so of course we investigated. She is gone. Our scouts reported she has sold some paintings and departed for an unknown destination.
Like me?
I am indebted to you for sparing me at Pembroke. But this won't always be the case. I'm no coward like those St. Paul's Stowe brothers.
Why are you here?
The man who raised me after the brutal murder of my parents. He's buried here.
Were both your parents killed by vampires?
Yes. And yet worse. My father returned to Dublin a vampire and tore out my mother's throat.
And who was this man?
Carl Eldritch. One-time leader of Priwen. He killed my father in front of me. Helped me hunt my brother Ain after teaching me how to kill leeches.
Adieu, Vampire Hunter.
Until we meet again, Blood Drinker.
Are you all right, Miss?
My name is Xiao.
I do apologize, Xiaoshun.
Yes, I am. This is the only...
How is the sanitary situation evolving in Whitechapel these days?
My only relief is that my Matthew died before seeing the madness that approaches. I'm afraid we won't survive this trial, Dr. Reed.
You should go home now.
No, not yet. I miss my dear...
You realize you can't stay here forever, don't you? Eventually, you'll have to leave the cemetery.
Why? Why should I go? Since this is the only place I can find peace of mind.
But you're not dead. There is a difference between visiting the dead and staying with them.
You sound like you're no stranger to the pain I feel.
Let's just say, I too have a good reason to visit cemeteries at night.
Please accept my condolences for your loss then, Dr. Reed.
Tell me how your husband died, Xiaoshun.
Matthew died of the Spanish flu, like so many others. It's a mundane cause of death these days, but for me it meant the end of the world.
At this time, there is so little medical science.
The worst thing is...
Did he hide his condition from you?
Matthew was a smiling type, a happy sort. Everything that I am not. Did he laugh at his death to come, or did he not realize what was going to happen? I'll never know.
Goodbye, Jacques.
You can trust me.
you! Die, vermin!
I have this thirst for blood.
Better go home, sir. Don't come closer! Want some of this? Shit! Fuck! Is that you? It's one of them! Shit, that leech is fast!
I cannot enter. It's locked. The flower's dying. It needs water. I cannot use garlic, but there may be a substitute in the Pembroke Hospital drug storage.